If you visit the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix, Arizona, and if you wander over to their exhibit on American jazz, you will find this piano on display. At first glance, you might wonder how this piano made its way into a museum collection. The piano itself is nothing special. It's an average Steinway grand piano made in New York in 1956. If you lean in closer, you'll notice that the keys are yellowed and dirtied from use, the corners are scuffed, and the bench is dotted with cigarette burns. Every year, thousands of pianos in the US alone are sent to the garbage dump for disposal because they are more expensive to repair than they are to replace. If you saw this piano lined up side by side with some of these discarded instruments, you might not be able to tell the difference. So again, how did this piano make its way into a museum? Well, if you read the small sign posted at the base of the instrument, you'll learn that this piano, which is nicknamed the Pannonica Piano, named after the great jazz baroness Pannonica de Koenigswarter, you'll learn that this piano was hand-selected by Thelonious Monk and played by many other jazz legends of his time. It's pretty amazing how one single detail can completely transform the way that we think and feel about this instrument. Just knowing this piano's history changes it from just another old piano into a museum centerpiece. This prompts the question, how do we assign value to musical instruments? And by value, I mean the judgments that we make about something's social, financial, historical, aesthetic, or material worth. Now, as an ethnomusicologist, I am interested in what music means to people, whether they are playing music, listening to music, or otherwise participating in music making. Studying music is about so much more than just the sound itself. Music is a profoundly human activity, and so when we talk about music, we also need to talk about the people that make it and their rituals, their environment, their technologies, their way of life. In short, the culture in which music is shared and cultivated. In my research, I am investigating the relationships that people form with musical instruments and the ways that people anthropomorphize, personify, or otherwise attribute qualities of life and death to musical instruments. To me, the Pannonica Piano is a fascinating example because it represents many of the themes at the center of my research. Over the course of its 70 years, this piano has meant many different things to all the people who have formed different relationships with it. For example, on the one hand, to the jazz musicians, this piano was a well-loved instrument. It probably had a special sound or a special touch at the keys. On the other hand, to a piano technician, this instrument might have been a mechanical nightmare. The musicians almost certainly spilled their wine and cigarette ash onto the instrument, and in addition to its daily wear and tear, this piano was probably in need of some pretty serious maintenance. But to a museum curator, these marks are not considered damage, but rather evidence of the piano's rich musical life. And finally, to a general audience, this piano holds social value. Perhaps it sparks a conversation, sparks our imagination, and it symbolizes the power and joy of music. Now, a piano, or any instrument for that matter, doesn't need to be famous or in a museum to be worthy of our attention and study. Maybe you're a worker at the Steinway factory, measuring out lengths of steel string every day. Or maybe you're a young student and you're just learning to pick out your first few chords at the keyboard. Maybe you have been dazzled by a shiny concert grand glimmering under the bright stage lights. Or maybe you have been grappling with what to do with your own grandmother's piano. Whatever the case, these pianos from your everyday life make you feel something. This is the power of ethnomusicology, to help us unravel the layers of meaning, emotion, and value in musical instruments, and to show us that something like this is so much more than just an old, worn piano. Thank you.